high school principal or the middle school principal with any questions you might have.
I appreciate it. I actually appreciate hearing some of the parents' perspective, less than the staff perspectives.
Okay, thank you.
Students, those students.
Go ahead.
You can wait for a mic.
Yeah, we'd like to get a mic down here. Marsh, I'll go right to you next.
Hi, Peter Lightows, Lindor Road. Just a question for Representative Jones. I remember going through the whole match process, and there was a period when funds were actually frozen from the state. Can you reassure us there's no, are you confident that we're not going to run into that similar issue with this project?
If you remember, when we did the bachelor school, we voted when we were in the old school building program, and the list was frozen, and they weren't taking projects, and the town chose to go ahead. The new program is completely set up differently. So we, for instance, we have a revenue estimate this year. Before none of it's the money's taken right off the top of it. So I think it's about $700 million that comes from a portion of sales tax. It's set aside right to the MSBA, not even subject to appropriation. So, I've read a few people who said, oh, we're going to have a tough budget year. If we didn't do this project, that money would be available for something else. The only thing this money is going to be available for is some of the towns that have the school project that jumps ahead of us because the town of North Reading chooses not to do it. That's the only thing it's going to be available for. No town that has gotten approved for funding, and the new MSD has not gotten that funding. This $700 million is set aside. It's simply up to the town of North Reading to choose to go forward or not to go forward. If it chooses not to go forward, that portion of money, the $47 to $49 million, will go to any number of other willing and ready participants.
Thank you, Brett. You and Deval will not squabble over this issue.
The government and I don't agree on a lot. This is maybe one of the few things we do agree on.
Again, this money's earmarked. This money's already there for this particular project. I think Marcy was next, and then we'll come back to you. Okay, sir, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Costas Guido, Giddes Valley Road. First of all, I want to thank everybody for putting this presentation together. It's really worth its time here tonight. But I want to go down along the line of breaking down things into simple form, and especially for both young and older residents here. What really kind of touches our heart is what we go through on a daily basis. So, kind of a comment or advice, whatever you want to take it as, is along the lines of what this lady said here before. What I'd like to see that would help both supporters and also opponents of this project is an understanding as to what would happen to the value of our house if we didn't take this project on. Can you guys give us or share some information to show a decline or some sort of information that would get people more motivated to be more excited about this project? Because I'm definitely am, so I'd like to see that, please.
Anyone want to take a crack at that? I mean, I think it's kind of anecdotal, but I think that if people move to a town like North Reading, which I think for years they have, and the first thing they look at is the school system, part of looking at the school system is not only the great results that we have here, but it's also the facilities. So I think that is something that most young people in particular, when they move to a town, people with children or people who are going to have children, that's the very first thing they look at. And I don't think you can separate the facilities, unfortunately, from the overall school system. But anybody else want to take a crack at that?
Right here,
What?
It's like supply and demand. If you think about it, a good school system attracts people to want to live in the community. And the community has only so many homes available for sale at any one time. And when more people are looking for those homes, the value of those homes go up. And as a result of the value of those homes going up, all of your homes go up. A good school system yields better real estate values. And it's a very, very good investment.
If I could just add a couple more things on that.
Go ahead, Mike. Mike Briscoe's from the Board of Selectmen.
You also have to keep in mind, you heard tonight, that there's several local communities also building schools. And in those local communities, they also have homes just like ours, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom homes. So when you're out looking for a home to bring your family, to start a family in, you're going to come to North Reading, you will love it, it's a bedroom community. But then when you look at the school that you have to send your kids to, when you can walk right over to Reading, Wakefield, Melrose, Wilmington, they have a brand new school, and they also have 3- and 4-bedroom homes. They're going to select that area before they select ours. That will change the value of your home. So even if you are close to retirement, or you are a retiree, you live in a 3-bedroom home, you actually should want this school to pass, because it's in your best interest that the day comes when you want to move out. A single person isn't going to buy you a 3-bedroom home. It's just not going to happen. And that's a reality.
Mike's right. Unfortunately, you can't judge a book by its cover because we have an absolutely excellent school system here in North Reading. And, you know, if you came in and just looked at the middle school and the high school, you may not draw that conclusion. You'd have to actually live here and go to school here to understand that. Who was next? Marcy.
Thank you. Marcy Bailey, 21 Duane Drive. I do have a question, but first I'd like to perhaps help the gentleman who was concerned about grades 6 through 12 in one building. I have a son who's a senior at Austin Prep in Reading, which is a grade 6 through 12 school, and he's been there since 6th grade. It's been a very positive experience. As a middle schooler, he benefited from the mentorship of older students and also the opportunity to participate in joint activities. Not all activities were joint, but selected ones that were appropriate for middle schoolers were, and he had the mentorship and the example of high schoolers. He, to my knowledge, was never exposed to any problems that would come from interacting with a high schooler. In fact, we found the high schoolers to have a level of maturity in dealing with a younger student that maybe even an 8th grader might not have with a 6th grader. A junior or senior in high school has a sense of responsibility and how they might have liked to have been dealt with when they were a 6th or 7th grader by an older student, or how they might deal with a sibling. So we had very positive experience there. And in turn, I've been proud to have positive comments about my son as a senior now, mentoring students who are 6th and 7th graders in activities. So I have no qualms about it. I have a daughter who's a 7th grader at the middle school, and I will be very happy and proud for her to attend this school when it is built. So that's just some perspective from a parent, and I hope that's helpful. If you have other questions after, I'd be happy to chat. For Representative Jones, building the school is maybe a challenge that's new in 2012, but not a challenge that's new to this community overall. In the 1950s and 60s, I believe virtually all 5 schools were built in North Reading, and I know that you grew up here and were a student here. And I wondered if you could just give some thoughts and comments about the responsibility of a community and what you experienced as a student and how you feel about that now as an adult and a leader in the community.
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up in North Reading. I went to the Little, the Middle, and the high school. And again, I mean, I think the best way to look at it, and in the job I have, a lot of people come forward, and I know that, you know, there are difficult times, and everybody has to make a judgment as to what, you know, they can afford. And I guess the best way, and I kind of just wrote it down, and I won't necessarily take credit for it, but I think it's what we're as a community faced with right now is the legacy current generation want to leave to future generations. Just as much as our, you know, maybe parents or grandparents had a debate about what the legacy they wanted to leave to their children and their grandchildren. This is what this is all as a debate about in the community. And I think it relates back to the state has set aside this money specifically for school building projects. This money is absolutely going to be spent on school building projects, and it really is up to the dialogue or debate in our community whether we want to be the community on the list this year that gets that portion of money. It's not going to be set aside for North Reading to come back in 3 or 4 years. We'll have to go back through a process and get back in a very competitive cycle. You know, and I think that the education that I was given here, you know, opened a lot of doors for me. Obviously, a number of kids I went to school with have gone on to other things in other communities across the country and across the world. You know, I'm one who maybe hasn't flown too far from the nest, but I think my education here has served me well. And you know, I wish it wasn't quite so far in the rearview mirror, because I like to think I'm a lot younger than I am, but, you know, so be it. You know, again, I think it's a very serious discussion about the legacy current generations want to leave future generations, and these are the kinds of things that can have lasting impacts, you know, for kids, grandchildren, and children, you know, not even here yet, so.
Thank you, Brad. Just as a footnote, Brad's father, Brad Jones Sr., is here tonight. He was on the building committee that built the middle school. Brad's sitting right over there. Who's next? Mel?
I'm Mel Webster. I'm a member of the school committee. I think one of the things that was mentioned earlier tonight that we have to remember is the world that we're sending our kids out into is a lot different than what we're able to offer them in these 2 buildings. Someone mentioned the industrial society of the 50s. That's all changing. You know, people think that, well, the economy is going to come back. Yes, it will. But it's going to be a different economy. It's an information economy. We don't have the facilities in either of these buildings to prepare our kids for 2020 or 2030 or beyond. We just don't have that. And to me, that's one of the most important things about these two new buildings is we really need to prepare our kids for a new economy that most of us probably won't understand and many of us won't even see. But I think that's one of the most important things about this project.
Thank you. Thanks. Yes, sir, Rick.
I've been in the construction business since 1985, and through the years I've been involved in projects at Malden and Melrose High School, and over those years they took that Band-Aid approach, and you know, I wish everyone, there's always going to be naysayers, and with that Band-Aid approach it cost Malden High School, I believe, 10 times the amount to do the repairs on their roof. Is what, you know, compared to what they initially, if they had done it the right way the first time, you know, it ended up costing 10 times the amount 10 years later because they decided to do a Band-Aid approach. And Melrose, the same situation occurred. I think that estimate that you gave of 49 million is, you're probably lowballing it because when the building starts to decay over time, everything starts to go. And the cost to actually do the repairs are a lot more to deal with than what it is to actually have a new facility.
No, that's a good point. We don't know when we start to make one repair what that's going to lead us to after that. And interestingly enough, I think Malden High School was just renovated finally after doing all those repairs and spending all that money. They were just beneficiaries of money from the Mass School Building Authority to renovate their high school. Yes, sir.
Hi, yes, Rob Carbone from NORCAM, North Reading Cable Access. I had a question for Brad or Chris. High school currently houses the centralized location for the town's institutional network, the INET. I didn't see anything on the current plans for the new building to house the INET. Is the INET going to still stay in the new building, or is it going to be relocated?
We do have actually, it was referenced by underneath the auditorium area, in that area. There is a TV station studio that is currently located in that area. And we haven't gotten to that point in the discussion in terms of, you know, what type of cable access, etc.
Well, no, this is actually for, the INET's actually the institutional network that carries data and audio and video through the town of North Reading. So it wouldn't just be us. It's actually everything. That's what powers all the different INET nodes, the remote locations for police, fire, Hillview, Town Hall. All that's housed in the INET. There's a hub back in the tech area, and I don't see anything planned for that.
Yeah, it is there. It's right next to the TV studio. We also have the head end room. There's a location for some of the technical staff to be there. So I don't know all of the things that you're talking about there, but the idea is to be able to go and take that area, which is the hub for the school, and to the extent that that needs to be extended out throughout the community, you know, that's something that we would be able to work with.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Get a little nervous when we have a question and Brad and Chris turn to look at each other at the same time, but that was a good answer, Brad. Thank you.
Hi, Laura Capizzuto again, 12 Grand Drive. Just curious, as long as we're spending money, was there any consideration at all to a field house and or a swimming pool?
I'm glad you asked. No field house, no swimming pool. The MSBA has learned through experience, and they have become very frugal. As we discussed when we were talking about the enrollment, they have narrowed everything down to just necessities. There are no luxuries. The buildings will be state-of-the-art, but you will not see anything like a field house or a swimming pool because the MSBA will not only won't they contribute to that, but they won't even accept that as part of the plan right now.
What are the plans for the current tennis courts?
Good question. I'll turn that over to the architect, Brad.
Right now, the tennis courts, which are currently located behind the middle school, they would be, that area right now is earmarked for parking, just because of some of the grade considerations on the site, as well as its proximity to that Main Street entrance that was shown. But the tennis courts will be relocated to the western side on the backside of the school.